What's up everyone? In today's video we're going to be going over a roadside repair kit that I assembled. Now there was two criteria for this roadside kit that I assembled, so again I'm hoping that you guys will poke holes in this. I'm intentionally making this video so that if you yourself are creating a kit like this, there's always going to be things you're not thinking of. So I'm hoping by doing this video the community on YouTube will rally together and they'll say, hey, you forgot about this, or you might consider this, or they'll even give alternatives to things that I may have included in this kit. So wanted to throw that out there. But the criteria for my particular kit was two things. One, it needed to fit the car that I'm planning to utilize this for. And what I mean by that is it largely metric tools? Is it largely standard tools? Do you know if there's particular sizes for that car? Like in most JDM cars, it's a 10 mil, a 12 mil, you know, a 13, 14, so on and so forth. The other criteria was I wanted to do this for as low buck as possible. I wanted this to be as cheap as possible, which seems ludicrous, but I'll give you some reasons as to why I intentionally wanted to keep this cheap. But that's really the gist of the kit that I've assembled here in front of us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unpack the kit. I'm going to show you what I have. I'm going to show you how I have it kind of compiled together, essentially. And then I'll walk you through each individual piece and describe why I went the route that I did. So if you're interested in assembling a roadside kit, or you yourself has done this and you consider yourself a subject matter expert, or you're somebody that does recoveries and things like that on a frequent basis, I'd love to hear from you. Throw your suggestions down in the comments below. With that, let's get started. Okay, so first and foremost, I mentioned that I wanted to do this as cheaply as possible. And you may be asking yourself, why would you want to have tools that you're going to utilize in an emergency situation, but also be as cheap as possible? Well, one or two things. Cheap doesn't always mean bad quality, because there's various ways that you can actually get tools, secondhand, discount stores, etc. And then alternatively, the other reason I wanted it to be cheap is because the likelihood of this getting stolen, lost, or misplaced is quite high when you think about it. So that's the reasoning behind this being a low buck option versus going out and buying a very expensive, well-assembled pack. There are some really extensive kits on the market, and look, if I ran a wrecker service, or if I was doing this for some type of professionalism, like, you know, a profession, I should say, I would probably go that route because I'm dependent on these tools. They're my livelihood, etc. These, however, are going to get thrown in the trunk of a vehicle, the bed of a truck, and they're going to basically just live there and used in, you know, what if situations. I'm going to have these on hand in case I need them, or in case I come across somebody that needs them. So they're not going to be heavily utilized tools, or at least I don't anticipate them being heavily utilized. So again, don't want to spend a lot of money. The other elephant in the room is, as I mentioned, they could be misplaced, which is your own doing, or they could be stolen. And let's face it, unfortunately, we have a lot of people that like to steal things, and auto theft and break-ins to autos is quite common, and this is an easy target. I mean, you want to make it easy for you to carry and gather, so it's not cumbersome in the event that you need it, and while simultaneously doing that, it unfortunately allows it to be easily stolen by burglars. So with that being said, let me show you what I did. First off, I had this little bag from Ryobi. I have a lot of Ryobi tools, and in one of the kits I bought at some point, it came with this free bag. Honestly, I never used this bag. It's been laying in my garage. It's got dirt and junk all over it. And I was honestly going to throw it away until I actually started to assemble this kit. And I was like, that is a great use for this. Now, prior to finding this bag, I did buy a tool roll. And the reason I have both is because I have since decided to incorporate two larger tools into my overall kit. One is a magnetic tool tray like this. I got this for free from Harbor Freight. Again, that's another way you can keep this as low buck as possible. Harbor Freight, not sponsored, but certainly a good place to start if you have one in your area. I also added a rubber mallet. Dead blow hammers like this are good to have, especially when you're having to work on suspension and stuff like that. I also added this cone, which I will show you right here. This is actually for like roadside direction. So in the event that you're pulled over on the side of the road, you can turn this bad boy on and you can direct traffic, or just stand it up on the side of the road by your vehicle to increase visibility in a roadside situation. So that was the reasoning behind adding those two items, and that's subsequently why I added this little bag. And in all fairness, I could just use the bag, but I had already purchased the tool roll, and so that's what we really leaned in on when I was creating this roadside kit, was the tool roll. Because honestly, it's nice to be able to roll this up. It clips together. It has a strap. You can easily chuck this, like I said, in the trunk of a vehicle, in the bed of a truck, you know, in the storage bin in a vehicle, and you can easily unroll this and grab it. And the thing I liked about this particular tool roll is it's pretty modular, so every organizing little packet essentially just velcros onto the larger roll itself. So in the event that I just need one single thing out of the tool roll, I can just unvelcro it and not have to take the whole roll, which is another selling factor for this. I picked this particular roll up on Amazon. Again, it was the cheapest one at the time that had the compartments that I was looking for, and didn't honestly break the bank. I think I paid like $10 for this thing when it was on sale. So again, look for deals. Doesn't mean you're going to get bad quality, because this thing is well put together. I believe it'll hold up for many years to come. It's got double stitching in the places that would get a lot of wear and tear. So I'm not too worried about it. So without further ado, let's walk through everything in my tool roll, notwithstanding the things I already mentioned with the hammer, and the little magnetic dish. So first and foremost, vice grips. These can become a universal tool in the event that you need them. They can grab onto bolts, they can grab onto nuts, they can be used as a crank if your window crank breaks, which I don't know how many people have those anymore, but countless utilizations for these. I actually, it's frowned upon, but in the event that you need to keep your hood up and it has gas struts that have failed, you can clamp these onto the gas strut and it'll keep your hood open too. So again, countless things you can utilize these for. Highly recommend. That's probably one of the main things to have up on your list. Next thing is a good pair of snips, tin snips, or any good pair of scissors. This can help get packaging open. This can help cut pieces of hose. It can cut, you know, even in medical situations, it can cut gauze, things like that. So it's just a good item to have on hand. The next thing is an assortment of wrenches. So as I mentioned, I did this for as cheap as possible. So for my vehicles, they're largely metric. I've got a whole fleet of Toyotas. And so Harbor Freight actually from time to time will give you free wrenches. I don't know why I did it like that. So if you can see, it's the Pittsburgh wrench, nothing special. I got a whole kit of these for free. And so I throw these in here. And again, the whole idea is these will get me through in a pinch. I'm not sure I'd want to use these every single day, but the whole purpose of this is if it gets lost, if it gets stolen, it's not devastating. I'm not losing some of my higher quality tools. The next thing is I assembled a random assortment of sockets. And honestly, I wish there was a better way of keeping all this together. So if you have any suggestions on that, I'd love to hear them. Throw them in the comments down below. I got lucky. I inherited quite a bit of tools from my late grandfather upon his passing. And so one of the things I inherited was just a random box of sockets. I mean, there's quite literally, it doesn't even make sense. I think he just took all of his stuff and threw it in a box at one point. But there's no-name tools, there's Craftsman, there's Cobalt, there's everything in between. I just looked for the sizes that are most common for my vehicle, and I assembled a kit based off those sizes. I did both 12-point and 6-point. One thing you'll know is if you've worked on cars for a while, 6-point and 12-point are good in various situations. Sometimes you want one, not the other. It can help prevent rounding bolts off. So I purposely assembled these sockets so that I have a little bit of both. And I included duplicates in some sizes, just in case I need to hold it on both ends. The next thing I did was I picked up a low buck ratchet from Harbor Freight. Again, trying to keep this as low buck as possible. And fun fact, these have a lifetime warranty, so if it were to break, hopefully it doesn't break when I need it. But if I use this thing over and over again and I eventually do break it, it's got a lifetime warranty. I also assembled a thing of sockets and a couple of extensions. I purposely did 2-part extensions instead of a single because that way I have a stubby or a long, so it'll fit in various places. And then I also assembled a kit of deep well sockets that I also got from Harbor Freight, just because they're cheap and they work. Next thing in the kit is a good flashlight. So can't go wrong with a good flashlight. Obvious reasons you need to see, whether it's in the dark or it's just in a place in the engine bay that's hard to get to and hard to see. Honestly, probably the quintessential tool in any person's toolbox or roadside kits got to be zip ties. These things have countless uses. Holding things together, broken undercarriage panels. I've actually personally had that experience where driving down the road and you hit a tire, you hit something and it obliterates the undercarriage of a vehicle, not this one fortunately, and it breaks the little plastic undercarriage skid plate, if you will. These can help you get home. So they come through in tough situations like that. The other thing is a good pair of adjustable pliers. Now, admittedly, I've grown quite fond of a newer style of these. Yes, I do have them, which is the Knipex, which are these guys. Frankly, these are amazing. These get the job done. Again, doing this for as low buck as possible, but if you want to spend the extra money, the Knipex versions of these, pretty darn good. And actually, recently, one second, I did just pick up Harbor Freight's version of this, which I gotta remember what the brand is. It's not Icon. It is Harbor Freight's Doyle brand, D-O-I-L-E. And they make a version of the Knipex pliers too, where it's got the button. And these things, holy moly, these things are amazing. So again, I would get a pair of channel locks essentially. But if you want to spend the extra dough, the interlocking pliers, hands down, can't go wrong with those. But adjustable set of pliers, much like the vice grips, come in clutch. Again, they hold bolts, they can hold nuts. If you're using the ratchet on one end and trying to keep something from turning on the other, these can help accomplish that. And the good thing is, it being adjustable, it fits a lot of sizes. So this one tool can do a lot of different things. The other thing I have in the kit is a multi-use screwdriver. So it's got Phillips and a flathead. It's got both small and large sizes. Picked this up for free from Harbor Freight as well. And then a couple of things that I have in my kit that are more specific to me, just because I've come across needing these items in the past, or I've come across other people needing them in the past, is random tools, or random items, I should say. So electrical tape, shoestring, earplugs, and I'll tell you the use case for both of the, or for all three of those. The shoelaces is actually helpful if you need to tie stuff together. I had a situation one time where the fan shroud was like laying against the belt, and I couldn't bust it off because of how the shroud was assembled on the vehicle. So I just needed a simple way to pull it out of the way temporarily to keep it off that belt, so that it didn't just shred the belt. And had I had that, it would have made it a lot easier. Electrical tape, electrical gremlins, especially on older cars, it's common. You may have to cut a wire or two. So having electrical tape is good. I also would recommend keeping extra fuses and wiring. Haven't quite figured out how I want to put that or integrate that into the kit. Again, love to know your guys' thoughts. Let me know if you found a electrical kit that would be compact and easy and doesn't break the bank, that I could put into this kit. And then earplugs, obvious one if you're having to work on an engine or work beside the highway, you got stuff flying by you, just protect your ears. And then the last thing is just a thing of gloves. Oftentimes I don't wear gloves. As I've gotten older, I realize you really should wear gloves. when you're doing roadside repairs, the last thing you want to have to do is get your hands dirty and then get in the car and then drive to wherever the nearest place is to wash your hands. Having had changed tires on the side of the highway, just changing a tire can be a quite messy process. The tires themselves are usually dirty. So the gloves just keeps you clean. It also protects your hands. If you've ever dealt with a really bad blowout, you know that sometimes the tire, the metal webbing inside the tire can be quite sharp if it's exposed. So you just want to avoid that. So again, gloves come in pretty clutch and they can help save your hands. Okay guys, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you have assembled one of these kits or you have one for a regular use case, please let me know. I'd love to have your suggestions down below. Just wanted to share with you the kit that I've assembled, the things that I've put in it. It's not perfect, but I think it'll get me out in a pinch. But again, if you have one of these kits, I'd love to hear from you. If you've got suggestions on how to make this kit better, please share that down below. But yeah, I appreciate you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys in that next video.